Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post. At some point, reality strikes, and even the colleges and the universities start to realize they're not going to be able to do what they've been doing for the last few years. Coming from InsideHigherEd.com, can universities still diversify faculty hiring under Trump? The professoriate doesn't demographically represent the U.S. or the college student population. Your skin color is not some kind of a ticket that says, I can only have a professor that has the same skin color as me, or your sexual preference, or your religious identity. The government's anti-DEI crusade threatens efforts to address exactly that, trying to diversify faculty hiring, because they weren't hiring based on merit. But now they're in a situation where, well, if you don't hire based on merit, you're most likely going to lose your funding, and you're going to be dealing with the Department of Justice. One of the ridiculous things that accelerated this was from this piece from Inside Higher Ed, Faculty So White. A new report underscores how faculty diversity and student success go hand in hand and asks, why are university faculty so white? Well, this kind of racist nonsense is not going to continue. Before Donald Trump retook office, advocates of a more demographically diverse U.S. professoriate were already criticizing the existing hiring efforts as inadequate. One late 2022 paper in Nature Human Behavior noted that at recent rates, higher education will never achieve demographic parity among tenure-track faculty. Either you've done the homework and you've got what it takes, or you don't. That's merit. Everyone benefits from a meritocratic society. We all do. It keeps quality high, and it also tells us what we're good at versus what we're not good at. We're not all good at everything. Some people are really gifted at certain things. That's what they ought to be focusing on. And they should also figure out how to make a living doing it. If people aren't qualified to have certain kinds of jobs, they ought not to have those kinds of jobs. One example of the disparity. As of November 2023, only 8% of U.S. assistant professors were Black, according to the College and University Professional Association for Human Resources, so you know it's accurate. That's significantly less than the Black representation in the U.S. population. That's what we call a disparate impact, so it must be racism. Well, not really. And that's where they're coming from. Trump recently did an executive order about disparate impact. An executive order is not law, but they don't even pay attention to law for the most part, so at least with that executive order, it sets things in the right direction. From Zero Hedge, Trump just cracked the keystone of the post-1964 liberal order. And this refers to Trump's executive order restoring equality of opportunity and meritocracy, which declares it is the policy of the U.S. government to eliminate the use of disparate impact liability in all contexts to the maximum degree possible. That's a whole different story. But essentially it says, the policy of the United States government is that we all deserve an equal opportunity based on merit. The CUPA-HR data show that the Black share of tenure-track and tenured professors decreases as rank increases. Only 5% of associate professors and 3.6% of full professors were Black. Well, who cares? I only care if they're qualified. When students are going through college and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with the rest of their lives, a lot of times they know, a lot of times they're not so sure, a lot of times people realize as life goes on, we get a lot of surprises. You ought to be getting a lot of great information, insight, and direction from your professors. And the more qualified they are, the better chance you have of learning something you can use for the rest of your life. And they're messing with that because of racism. It's the purpose of the current administration to fix all that. Efforts that institutions have made to racially diversify their faculties drew political backlash well before Trump regained the White House, with activists, organizations, and some faculty criticizing the university hiring practices and state legislatures passing laws banning affirmative action and/or diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. The goal of a more representative faculty slipped further out of reach starting on Inauguration Day, when Trump issued executive orders targeting DEI, including what he dubbed illegal DEI discrimination. There really is no such thing as legal DEI discrimination. You should never be doing it. It's not legal, it's not moral, it's not appropriate, it's not good for the people that don't get the opportunity, and it's not good for the people that do get the opportunity because you're setting people up to fail. Don't bring me into your restaurant as a master chef just because you like my skin color, for example. I will not cook well. There are a few things that I'm really great at, that I'm better at than most people on the planet, but not literally everything. Merit helps us find our place in life. And that spiritual, financial, and social benefit of being able to be where you belong and always have an opportunity to do better based on what you're able to do is something we should never give up. The Trump administration's crusade has continued, including with a letter demanding that Harvard University and all DEI initiatives, quote, and implement merit-based hiring policies and cease preferences based on race, color, religion, sex, and or national origin throughout its hiring, promotion, compensation, and related practices. Harvard is refusing to comply with these reasonable requests. They're suing the administration in court, which is the place you would sue people, and the Trump administration has been canceling their grants. They've even gone as far as to tell Harvard, don't expect to have any grants in the future with the federal government. Don't even apply for grants. Linda McMahon is hardcore. Given the current political situation, not just nationally, but also among the growing number of states with DEI and or affirmative action restrictions, how can higher ed institutions continue to diversify their faculties? The answer is, of course, they cannot. They cannot continue to break the law. There's too much at stake for that. But it's fascinating seeing them come to this conclusion. Quote, I think that's the question of the day. What's lawful? What's legal? What might subject an institution to investigation by the investigatory arms of the federal government, said Paulette Granby-Russell, President and Chief Executive Officer of the National Association of Diversity Officers in Higher Education, which is one of the organizations suing over the Trump administration's anti-DEI executive orders. Quote, is it purposeful that this administration has chosen ambiguity? Granby-Russell is starting to wonder, or left us to guess what they intend by illegal DEI. Is diversifying our campuses on its face illegal DEI? Yes, it's deliberate that it's vague. These are very intelligent and clever people that are using their skills and their experience to create a situation where no matter what these colleges and universities do, if they try to get around the policies, they're going to find themselves getting punished. The more specific the policy, the easier it is to comply with or to try to have a workaround with, or say, hey, I thought it was this because you said it was this and I was doing something else. I was trying to get in under the wire, sneak around the back entrance. Well, there's no back entrances for you guys. Just stop breaking the law. Don't dehumanize them by judging them based on their skin color. So far, the administration has not clarified where the line is, and they're not going to. On February 14th, the U.S. Department of Education published a Dear Colleague letter declaring that the department interprets the Supreme Court's 2023 decision banning race-conscious admissions as applicable to other areas of higher education, including hiring, promotion, and compensation. Promotion and compensation? You mean I'm not just allowed to legally give people opportunities that they did not earn? I'm not allowed to pay people more based on their skin color? No, you literally are not. Do you really need the United States government to tell you this? You cannot do this. And if you get caught doing this, you're going to get in trouble. Though the letter is facing legal challenges, the department later released a frequently asked questions document, a fact document, further explaining its position, but that guidance still didn't discuss hiring practices. Literally, don't do illegal things and you won't get accused of doing illegal things or in trouble for doing illegal things. That's what the government is telling the colleges and the universities. And they're still like, yeah, but wait. And the answer is like, no. I've been watching these videos lately. Of course, they're like really interesting videos. Some of them on X, some of them on YouTube with people getting pulled over by the police. And they're like, hey, I don't want to listen to you. And the police is like, you're going to have to listen to me. And they're like, no, I don't want to listen to you. Some of them are pretty young people. Some of them are not so pretty older people. But ultimately, it's kind of like that. You just can't beat the police by fighting with them physically. I'm not saying the police are always right. I'm saying don't fight the police. Don't fight the U.S. government. Just try to follow the law whenever you can. In response to requests for an interview and written questions, Harrison Fields, Special Assistant to the President and Principal Deputy Press Secretary, wrote in an email to Inside Higher Ed, quote, President Trump is working to make higher education great again by ending unchecked anti-Semitism and ensuring federal taxpayer dollars do not fund higher education institution support for dangerous racial discrimination or racially motivated violence. Any institution violating Title VI is by law ineligible for federal funding. That means you, college, That means you, university, stop violating the law if you want federal funds. Title VI bans discrimination based on, among other things, shared ancestry, including anti-Semitism. Maddie Biederman, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Communications at the U.S. Department of Education, told Inside Higher Ed, quote, "It is illegal to make decisions on the basis of race." Literally any decisions based on race. Black guy said it? Okay. White guy said it? Okay. You can't make a discrimination and say, based on one of their skin colors, I'm going to decide things differently. Literally can't legally do it. This is how basic it has to be for the colleges and the universities, and they still hear it and they still say, it's like the cops. It's like, no, I will not listen to you. I do not want to listen to you. You must listen to them. They control your monies. Even if Harvard wins in its current lawsuit, what about future years of future grants? They're not going to get as many as they would get. Let's say Harvard or one of these other universities has some really successful results in law, in the court. That's fantastic. You're still going to get the side eye. You're still going to get excluded from other opportunities that you were up for competitively because they're going to say, look, these guys work with us. Those guys don't work with us. You're not going to get the business. You're not going to get the grant or the contract. The universities are completely burning their bridges here for future grants. The Deputy Assistant Secretary went on to say, the department isn't providing any additional guidance at this point beyond the text of the executive orders, the Dear Colleague letter, the FAQ, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and the 2023 Supreme Court ruling. Read it. You know what it says. Also in a FAQ titled, What You Should Know About DEI-Related Discrimination at Work, the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission writes that under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, DEI practices may be unlawful if they involve an employer or other covered entity taking an employment action motivated in whole or in part by an employee's or applicant's race, sex, or other protected characteristic. In addition, it says that Title VII's protections aren't just for minority groups. All human beings are protected by Title VII. Adriana Kizar, a professor of higher education and director of the Pullius Center for Higher Education at the University of Southern California, said in an email that there isn't universal understanding across campuses of current hiring rules. Quote, in states like California and others, affirmative action in hiring is illegal. In other states, it remains legal until the Trump Dear Colleague letter becomes the legal interpretation, Kazar wrote. But she said some states are already complying even though that's not become the law of the land. The judgment of the Education Department doesn't solely rely on law and statutes. They do get to decide what universities and colleges will get their grants and won't get their grants. She continued to say, quote, right now, everything is still murky. Tress Cleveland, a partner at the Thompson Colburn law firm who represents higher education clients, said most of them are trying to stay in the good graces of the Department of Education or other regulators, and it's a challenge at this point, Cleveland said. The rules of the road are changing almost daily. I mean, literally, you could just tell your clients to stop breaking the law. The Oscars so white mentality, faculty so white mentality is not where America is really. There are people that are in power that have some of this racist ideology in them. But America doesn't want this. Americans don't want this. They just need to stop trying to do this. Damani White-Lewis, an assistant professor at the University of Pennsylvania Graduate School of Education, said, quote, there's genuinely no consensus on what's barred under the Trump administration with regard to hiring that wasn't prohibited before. Quote, I wanted to do a project of, if you asked like 10 different legal counsels, what sort of answers would they come to and how did they make sense of them? Because that's just how different folks are. And some are more conservative, some a little more progressive on the issue. For colleges and universities, faculty diversification isn't just an end in itself. Studies have found positive benefits for students. Now, when they say studies have found, you can always be assured that it's a ridiculous one-sided study. And here's the study. Faculty So White. The Faculty So White study associated with this article is not going to be considered credible because, at the very least, of the title of the article, but also because even if there was a good purpose to treat people in a way that dehumanizes them, that judges them just based on their gender or their skin color or their religion or their sexual preferences, Americans aren't interested in that. While Granberry Russell criticized the Trump administration's ambiguity, she said that actively seeking a diverse applicant pool still seems acceptable. In recruitment, she said, "You're not making a decision, you're just saying apply for this position." Quote, "There's nothing, at least on its face, that would appear to prohibit recruitment efforts," she said. But for the smart people in the room, the Education Department has, however, already targeted dozens of universities for allegedly supporting the PhD project, which was accused of barring white or Asian prospective doctoral students from a recruitment conference. Kazar at the University of Southern California wrote in an email that while recruitment strategies still seem to be a viable way to attract diverse candidates, quote, "some of the approaches that people have been relying on, they don't feel comfortable with because they're being targeted. Because now people are watching you do things that you know are illegal. And when people are watching us do things that we know we ought not to be doing, we tend to not do those things anymore." Granberry Russell echoed this concern, saying that out of fear of investigations, people are being very, very conservative in how they approach faculty searches. And wait till you hear this name. Denise Saskawakawawa, director of the University of Michigan's Advanced Program, a faculty diverse initiative, wrote in an email that, quote, "approaches which may still be viable include disseminating job announcements to outlets where they may reach a wide range of excellent candidates." White Lewis of the Penn Graduate School of Education said there's a pervasive myth that there aren't enough graduate students of color to diversify faculties. He called it a no-brainer for institutions to invest in postdoctoral fellows and postdoctoral researchers, a stepping stone to permanent faculty jobs. Now that's a clever way to get around the rules. I don't know if you get in trouble for doing something like that, saying, okay, well, we already have these people on campus. Let's invest in more of these people to kind of move on along the way into permanent faculty jobs, and then we could just give them tenure so they could be here forever. Okay, if it's legal, go for it. But be careful about breaking the law. I mean, in a worst case scenario, you could always just hire people based on merit, but that's not the idea, to have a quality organization. The idea is to push an agenda, put people into positions that they won't succeed in, give people opportunities at the exclusion of other people who could have earned those opportunities, and create a weaker society overall. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.